Hey there, so this is an update for the project I've been working on. I'm going to start with this wonderful answer. Apparently, I've just noticed when I press play and go into the new game scene, it's very, very dark if I come from the title scene. And apparently it's because this disable continuous baking needs to be set in the editor, but it's looks like a hassle type of thing. You gotta go back and forth if you want to see it for real. So when you see this, you're gonna see a darker scene. So let me show you what I've got here. So I'm gonna press play. This is of course just a test, a demo. This will come with a package, but this is how I'm gonna use for my game as well. So it populates. This is just a callback saying that I've populated with 4 scenes. The menu lists them all here. These are prefabs in the prefab UI. These little UI spots. They're populated with the name, and this will be the in-game time. Apparently that's when the game starts in the morning. And then we can go new game. And you notice here, so it's pre-populated with a random name, random gender and race. I just realized I need a back button here, huh? We all have a back button, a cancel button here. But if you click this randomize button, you can see it randomizes them again. For the most part, it gets pretty random. Apparently, even twice. Hey, wait, 2, 3. Hey, look at that. That's not random. Let me fix this. Try this again. New game. Ha ha ha. 4 male still. Alright, I've got a menu button. Takes us back. That's nice. Wasn't very quick though. That's weird. It's a delay. I don't know why. Alright, so we're going to randomize. Well, it does seem to be more random now. So that's good. Alright, so when you click the L randomize things, you'll notice if you click the name, you can type a new name. So I'll type in Unity name, confirm, and then it changes Unity name. So you can change that to whatever you want. It's up to 16 characters. You could change that if you want. That's just kind of arbitrary. You can click the gender to change the gender, and you see the character model changes as well. You can click to change the race, and the races are humans are this tannish brown color, elves are blue, half-orcs are red, and dwarves are green. I don't have models for the others, so this is what we get, colors, but that's okay. And you can see that the stats also update based on the combination of race and class, and you can change the class just by clicking this right here. So you can see that elf mage is going to have a lot of wisdom because he gets bonuses there. So you got 50 bonuses to go, so we're just going to raise these up, and you can see, you can also delete them. The minimum and maximum is actually set by script, so right now it's set to minimum of 8, maximum of 18, but of course with the bonuses you can go much higher and much lower. So we're just going to populate all those just randomly, it doesn't really matter. And then for the skills, we got 4 selections for each one. And you can choose for, if you cancel and come back, the ones you've chosen before will still be selected. So you can confirm those, and of course you come back and can't confirm without 4, so it'll be stuck. There you go, confirm, 4 of those, and then you can begin the journey. Of course, if you now have a bonus point left, you can't begin your journey. So you need to assign all the bonus points and have all skills. If you were to randomize these again, the skills would be deleted. Also, actually, I should change this. If you change the class or the race, it also gets deleted because these are populated based on the class and race. So the skills you can choose from are based on those. Alright, and then when we begin our journey, we can choose a game name. Call it demo video and start game. Now I do have a couple things to do. I need to add inventory items based on the skills chosen, and I also need to load the first scene, but it creates a copy of the master Actually this scene itself creates a copy of the master, because we don't want to be editing the actual master scriptable object because that would overwrite data. So for the new game scene, we create a copy of the master, and then when we're ready to start the game, we actually save to this object right here a copy of the master, and you can see that 2 clones right there. I don't think that name really matters, and that's the scene that will, or the object that will stick with us throughout the entire game and store all of our in-game data. So I'm going to stop it here, and if you noticed, that is also here. So in theory, when I set this up to load, we'll be clicking these buttons to load the game, and the first thing it will do is copy the data that's saved for each one of these into the master section of the game data, and then load it. So it'll be very similar to loading a new game. I made actually a lot of changes to the setup of all this. First, there was an issue with saving the data. You can't serialize game objects. You can't serialize vector 2s and 3s and texture 2Ds and audio clips and so on. So I've had to add this new object reference scriptable object, and this basically will have listings for all of any section here that you have referencing any one of these object types will be listed here. This is not something you actually manage yourself. Everything's managed by this scene here. So we've got the model prefabs here. We've got the 8 prefabs, and you can see that they have each one of them has a single variable prefab, and that's referenced here and also up here. So if I were to add a new custom variable, I could use genders and texture 2D list. So that's going to be just 2 genders. Call this test custom list. So there's 2 genders, and each one of these 8 lists here will get a 2 entries. So that we're going to add that, and you'll see now 16 entries here. Now if we go over to our genders, let's say we add a new gender. You can add that gender. Now there's 24. Each of the 8 also need another gender section. And the way this is actually stored in the scriptable object, go down to our model prefabs, data texture 2s, you'll see that the values are actually 1, 2, 3. It's only storing the ID number of, so 14, 15, 23 of right here. So 14 would be right here, 15 and 23. So that's pretty cool. And then if we delete this random one that we created, they'll be deleted, and everything will be moved up 1 so that they stay in order. So now if we go back to our the numbers will probably be the same, 14 and 15. But they'll move up 1 if they need to. Trust me on that, I guess. And then if we delete this texture list, well, we can see actually in action here. We can go to the table editor, go to our model prefabs and text texture list, and we've got all the textures right here. We can set them right here, and you can see them being updated as we go along. So you can set them right there. We also have in the new data table editor, I've got mass settings for all of these. So if you want, you can just set all to be the same, which is helpful, especially if you've got an integer on hundreds of fields. They all need to be basically the same. So that's pretty cool. And then in the end, if we delete our custom variable, all those go away. So that's how we now link all the objects. The way you call it will be the same pretty much in the end. When you call get, like a master here, we have, let's see if I get game object, it's going to return a game object. It's basically going to take, there's some overloading here, but so for this one, it's going to take your data name, item name, variable name, and the object name reference. So you're just going to pass that class, or that scriptable object rather, and it's to the master here. And I might actually be able to adjust that so that's in here, saved in here. I'm not sure, but and then it gets the ID of the object reference, and basically that's it used to be return the value, which was a game object. Now it's going to get the ID and then return object reference of that ID. So it's pretty simple. It's still going to return the same bit, and the only code I had to add was the object reference object. So it wasn't difficult in that aspect on the end using side of things. And vector 2s and vector 3s are also somewhat different now. Again, I can't serialize those, so I had to change them up. So vector 2s, 3s are now, instead of a public vector 3 value, it's now a public list called value of values. And for this, the values is XYZ. For vector 2's values is XY. For game objects is very similar. It's a public int of value, and that's the value of the thing. For the data game objects, we also have a value, a list of values, and the values is a list of ints. So it's very similar to the vector 3, vector 2's. For vector 3's, get vector 3. It's simply going to return a vector 3 of XYZ. So it's still going to return a vector 3, and you can use that in your game as you normally would expect. You don't have to worry about getting 3 float values and creating your own vector 3. It will return a vector 3 for you. So that's helpful. Those are the big things. I've added more methods here. There's a lot more to be added, and like whenever possible, I'm overloading them, so you can get item with just a data name and an item name, and it'll get you that item, or return the item, or the data name and the item ID. That's great for if you're doing like a for loop through a list of all the items in the data class. So you can just get each item that way. You don't need to get the item name first. This will do that for you. Same thing here. It will data name, item name, and a variable name. And since it has the variable name, it's now going to get the item from the data single. And then there's duplicate of that with item ID instead of item name. And then this last one is returns the item object of an inventory item. So it just, if you have now for the data name, item name, inventory name, and then the inventory value ID, it will return that item. So I need to comment these. I've started making comments on some of the functions right here, so you can, when you're coding, you can see what it does. I need to do a better job of that. That's something I actually just learned I could do. I didn't know how to do it before, but now I know I can do it. So that's pretty cool. I need to go through and do that to all of these. And I'm sure over time there will be more added, and I hope that anyone who uses it, if you think of new methods that help out, you'd be willing to share them with me in the community so that we can all take advantage of them. I think that's pretty much it now. I need to do those to-do things. I need to have the loading from the main screen here. I need to load these games. I need to have items loaded, and I need to create a first initial game scene that you can actually walk around in, and then work on populating enemies and whatnot, and making sure I've got all the data required for enemies, saving their position, their rotation, particles and game particles, and all that stuff. So as I go, I do need to change things. It's very difficult for one person, I think, to pre-plan all of this without having to change things, certainly for me. So I don't mind changing things as I go along, because it makes things better, I think, and hopefully it doesn't make things more complicated. Hopefully it keeps things as least complicated as possible. So let me know if you have any questions, and have a great day.